Final hour for the week. OverDrive continues. Powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Dear Hayesy-B later in the hour. Our best bets later in the hour. Jay's in action tonight, and Cameron Maybin will join us here in a moment. Love catching up with him. We'll get his take on if he's ever played in a game where his team's either hit 6 home runs or given up 6 home runs, which is what we saw last night, and how you respond to it for the Blue Jays this evening.
How about my cousin, Tyler O'Neill? 6 years in a row, opening day goes yard.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lock. Every single year that guy hits a home run on opening day. It's incredible. And that kind of got lost in the shuffle because, Rushman hit 2 last night. The game got out of hand. It's the Blue Jays home opener. But you're right. O'Neill just continuously putting up numbers on opening day. It's an incredible streak.
It sucks to get blown out on opening day.
Yeah,
or,
it's really deflating.
First game regardless of the season, whether hockey, basketball, baseball, in your own building, just run out of the building. Like it's awful. It's a
very
terrible
deflating,
feeling.
Man. Like we were saying yesterday, Noodles, because it was on while we were on the air, so I had it on in the studio, and it was kind of in my peripheral vision. And every inning, there was 1 or 2 people behind home plate that had left. So by like the 5th inning, like Geddy Lee is like, I'm out of here. Yeah. And by the 6th inning, and then by the 8th and 9th inning, there's like 4 people scattered behind the plate. Yeah. And that's always tough, because the visual, like who's behind home plate kind of defines the stadium for people watching at home. And if people are clearing out, and I guess I can't blame them, because plus you got rush hour, right? It would have been like 5 o'clock, 5:30 on a Thursday.
Freezing rain.
People like freezing rain. Yeah, the airports are going for freezing rain.
Well, dude, I used to be adamant that I'm paying for the tickets or anything. If I'm going to a professional sporting event, I'm staying for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But things have turned in the last several years. I love the Maple Leafs, man, but if I go down there and it's 5-0 for one team or the other, I am in my car. I'm sorry. After 5-0, I don't know what else could be solved. There are, once in a while, a miracle comeback. I'm talking 5-0 to start the third. That's
right.
That's,
it's over. Both
I'm
teams
out.
have put up the white flag.
I don't need to stay and watch the misery. You get me to a baseball game, although I remember when I was a kid, the Jays were down, I think, 10-1, and they had a miracle cut. You remember that game, Hayes?
Yeah.
It was a crazy game. I'll never forget hearing it, watching it. They were down 10-1, and the Blue Jays stormed back to win.
Those are always crazy games, man. It happened against the Mariners in the wild card game a couple of years ago. Remember the Jays were up 8-1.
It was 8-1.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what did they lose, 10-8?
Yeah, I think they lost 10-8 in that game, which is kind of amazing because, the Mariners covered the run line. They won by 2+. But
Crazy.
You're right. Think about it. There could have been someone who flew in from Seattle, for the series in Game 2. Screw it, man. Let's go see the city. We're in Toronto. This game's over. Getting pumped. Game 3 tomorrow. We'll figure it out then. Leave the stadium, and then you realize, Mariners came back and actually won the series. But it'll be a different buzz and different vibe down there clearly tonight. It always is after opening day, and we'll see what comes of it. But I'm sure you guys noticed last night, the first place team tied for first in the AL Central. The Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox got themselves a win.
Dude,
but
I think
they won 8-1
the
last night.
They did a Gatorade shower for
their
their skip.
Which I'm cool with.
Dude,
I know it's
so
goofy
am I.
and silly, and I get it. People, curmudgeon old sports guy will say, it's game 1 of 162. You lost a million games. You might as well embrace it and have fun. The White Sox, in order for them to get out of the absolute dark cloud that they were living in last year, you got to find some positivity, and you got to embrace that positivity when it arrives. Because they won big. They doused their manager with Gatorade. What else? Go for it. They might lose the next 10 in a row.
Have some fun with
Have
it.
some fun. If you're the White Sox, you're 1-0. You're leading the AL Central. You're tied with the Guardians. Take advantage of it because it's probably never going to happen again the rest of the year.
Yep.
So I got no problem with that. I thought that was actually a pretty cool story.
Is there any chance this is the surprise team of the majors this year?
Absolutely not.
There's zero chance.
0%
when we're talking,
chance.
they're going to get to 40 wins. They're going to get 40 wins this year. And that's what they are.
I think more than that. I mean, we talked about it the other day. FanDuel had their win total at somewhere in the 50s, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I could see them, maybe they get 65 wins. Like, these are professional players. Like, last year was staggering how awful they were. Like, it's the worst team in the history of baseball, maybe in the history of sports. Like, some people were saying that White Sox team was the worst team ever put together that was, like, of individuals being paid money to play the sport. That's how bad it was. Now, this last night is really over the top. Like, the guy, he's in a, what is that? Carts, a grocery
shopping cart.
Who cares, man? They deserved it, man. After what they did last year.
After
That's
what you
true.
went through last year, if you're the White Sox and you win the game, have yourself a party. Like, just go all
But
out.
then you make sure, and Cameron can tell us or agree or disagree, you make sure the first meeting you have today, the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, let's make what happened yesterday the standard around here.
Right.
We had our little celebration. Now the party's over. Let's get to work.
Now you got to be professional. You can't go out and get pumped tonight, right? You got to hold the fort down. Here's longtime MLB player. You can catch him as a host on Foul Territory back in Overdrive. Here's Cameron Maybin. How you doing, Cameron?
How we doing, fellas?
We're doing great, man. It's great to have baseball back, and we're curious your take on that. The White Sox, we know what they went through last year. Like, it was the biggest disaster in the history of the sport. And last night they had a party after winning on opening day. What do you make of it?
Well, let me go back a few years. I think this all started when Ricky Renteria was the manager, and we watched Ricky Renteria do a pretty good job, and they let him go. Then they brought him back, and they let him go again. And I bring that up to say, one thing that goes unnoticed is being a leader of men. Pat Murphy, David Ross, Aaron Boone, Tito Francona, Snicker. You're seeing guys that are showing you how important it is to be leader of men, right? And I think what's happened is, and I know it's one game, and I'm probably going to be a little bit more higher on this guy than most people because he's a friend of mine and ex-teammate, but I know the kind of person he is, and Will Venable, right? We talk about what the White Sox were, and they've been searching for a leader. And I think, the last right guy was Ricky Renteria, and I think they found the new right guy. Now, as a manager, you can only do so much with what you have, right? Sometimes you just are outmanned. But when you talk about leading men, a guy who understands, who has been around a winning pedigree in Texas, been a busy coach in Chicago, he's seen what it looks like to win. But one thing about Will Venable, what people don't realize is he's a very he's a guy that makes it easy to talk to. He's a very welcoming guy. He's a very welcoming personality. So I think when you have that and you put that in amongst a young group of guys, I think you'll start to see some guys put the selfish stuff to the side and go, hey, at the end of the day, if we win, and especially if we win more than we did last year, nobody's going to point the finger about who's doing this or who isn't doing that. Winning cures all. So I'm happy for the White Sox, but most of all, I'm happy for my guy Will Venable because, I know what he brings to the table, and I know he doesn't have a lot to work with, but it was fun to see those guys get that dub.
Cameron, how long does it take before things settle in Major League Baseball? It's a fascinating sport. There's 162, which is so many games. But let's say, for instance, the Jays. I mean, they got waxed last night. Like, how long before somebody says, we might need to pull it together here? Because it is such a long season, and there's butterflies to start the season. Everyone's excited for opening day. When things don't go right, how long before somebody says, let's snap out of this, fellas?
Well, you know what? That all depends on the guys in that clubhouse, right? I play with teams and I play with superstars that they weren't very vocal. And then you add guys like myself to those clubhouses, to those teams where I understood my role, and I mean that from a standpoint of, and I'm just using Mike Trout as an example. Playing Mike Trout, he's a great leader, but he leads by example. He goes out, he shows up, he plays great every day, he puts the numbers up, but he's not really a vocal guy. He's not the guy that's gonna, call everybody in, shut the clubhouse door and say, hey guys, we got to get it together. That's when you need that Robin. You need Batman, but you need Robin. You need that guy to go, hey guys, before this gets too out of hand, I think you give yourself, 10 to 15 games. I always as a player would give myself some grace. I always tell myself, if I get out of April hitting 250, 260, it's going to be a good year. So when I look at it from an individual standpoint, I think you kind of you kind of equate that to team success as well. You give yourself a little bit of a grace period. It's game one. I've seen a lot of guys start off high, and then you look, and you see them 2 months from now, and that guy is below the Mendoza line, or really struggling. So, as a team, I think it's a part of, Berrios didn't pitch, pitch like the guy that you hope we would be. Things happen, but I think you wipe the slate clean. You look in the mirror and you figure out what we're trying to do as a group. And I think that's the biggest thing with Toronto, with all the noise around Bo and Vlad and what's going to happen. I think they need to find a way to put all that noise to the side and go, hey, guys, as long as you are here, this is what we're focused on. We have the team. We have the people to do it. Now we got to put all the selfish BS aside and come in here with one goal, and that's to win baseball games. So I think when I see them, it's like the past years, when they pitch well, they don't hit well. When they hit, they don't pitch. When they get run to the scoring position, they don't get them in. It's just like it's some type of disconnect when I look at the Blue Jays, when you look at the talent that they have in that clubhouse. You got to figure out how to get guys pulling the rope in the same direction. And when I look at it, I feel like somewhere along the lines, the guys aren't pulling that rope in the same direction. So, again, to answer that question, I'll give it a couple weeks. But I think when you look at the history, I think you would hope that they get started off on a better note than they did yesterday.
So, Cameron, from the outside, what is the perception? You just went through the team for the most part. What is the perception of the Jays and what they're capable of this season? And, how many games, can they be a playoff team? Can they get to 85, 90 wins? What do you make of this team if all things fall into line for them?
Yeah, I think when you look at this roster, I think it's a no-brainer. When you look at Bassett, Berrios, Garcia, Kevin Gausman, Hoffman, you have pieces, Yariel Rodriguez. You have guys that, as a hitter, you don't just run to the bat rack. You're not looking for the face of those guys. And then from an offensive standpoint, you bring Jimenez over. You got Moshe. I think Moshe is in line for a huge year. I think we've seen Vladdy's floor. I think Vladdy's floor is as good as any first baseman in the game. So we can talk about, he didn't do this a year ago, not a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, but his floor is still amongst the elite. So when you look at those pieces, I think you need, George Springer to bounce back. You give some pieces, David Schneider, some guys that you need to have, I think, good years, but bring Santander in. The pieces are there, right? So, again, it's, can you get guys to value, what it takes to get a big league win, right? And not value, hey, what do I need to do to get mine? Jim Wheeler used to always say, if you play the game that you love, that you grew up playing, the money, the numbers, all that will take care of itself. So, outside looking, I could be totally wrong, but when I watch that team that talented and not figure out, it just points to something saying everybody's not pulling the rope in the same direction. And that's just my assumption.
Chatting with Cameron Maybin. So we got Game 2 of the series tonight, which will see Gausman on the mound. Tomorrow, Game 3, Max Scherzer. I did a quick Google search prior to having you on. Just Cameron Maybin versus Max Scherzer. I go back to July 2nd, 2015. Here's the headline. Cameron Maybin walk-off single pushes Braves past Scherzer and the Nats. So you faced him. You got him at one point. I don't know what he's got left in the tank, but can you put us into the shoes of whoever will be stepping in the box tomorrow? What's that like to face a guy like Max Scherzer?
Well, I tell you as a hitter, one thing and you can feel a guy's competitive nature. There definitely have been guys where you get in the box and you go, nah, I like my chances, right? But when you sit out there at Max, there's a fierce competitor behind that glove, looking in, getting the signs, and you know that you're in for a long day, he kind of, and the stuff is different, but he reminds me of a guy I would say, Tim Hudson was a guy that I hated facing. Hated facing Tim Hudson. And I had good numbers, but it was always just a drain, a grind, every at bat. He was never going to give in. He was, no matter what age Tim Hudson you were facing, you're going to get his best effort. And I think, when you have a competitor like Max, a guy that all he wants to do is win, I think you have guys like that to set the tone. So, for me, and I think for most Blue Jays fans, I think the biggest thing is let's get a healthy Max Scherzer. And the bright spot is the things that he's been dealing with from a health standpoint. And yes, some nerve stuff, but it isn't the elbow, it isn't the shoulder. There are things that, hey, if we can get through it, now we're looking at a pretty formidable rotation when you talk about Gausman Urios, Scherzer. I like the competitor. And again, I'm a team veteran. So, I'm liking the Blue. I'm liking the Jays' chances whenever Max toes the slab.
Absolutely, and that'll be tomorrow afternoon. And we were talking about Shohei Ohtani earlier this afternoon, and he hit a home run last night where it was a 3-2 count. He's working the count. He's working the strike zone like he does, and it almost felt like a formality. There was, a sinker that was kind of hanging there, and he just slapped it to left field. And he hit a home run in Japan last year. We know he had, he's 50-50 last year, and this year he's probably going to pitch at some point. And we're in awe of this guy. We didn't play professional baseball. You played for a long time. Like, when you watch Ohtani, what is that? How do you experience Shohei Ohtani compared to other great players?
Like Trout. You just said you played with Trout.
Exactly. How do you look at how do you view Ohtani considering everything else you've seen and what you've done yourself in your career?
Well, one thing you can't do is, I've never seen anything like it. You can't compare it. You can't compare anybody to Shohei Ohtani. Like, when you ask me about Mike Trout, people, my friend, hey, Cam, how was Mike Trout? What's Mike Trout like? And I always tell people, Mike Trout is the equivalent of what it would have looked like if Bo Jackson would have figured out the game of baseball. Really figured it out. Like, he's built like him. And the only difference is he's white. He's like the white version of Bo Jackson.
Right.
Skill, speed, power, But Shohei, when you look at a guy who's probably 6'4", 6'5", and I remember, I don't know what year it was, 2018, 19, I'm not sure. But I remember Justin Upton calling me, or I called him. I said, "Hey man, what do you have on him? You watch him every day." He goes, "Cam, he's the best player on the field, and it's not close." And I say that not just best player, best athlete, And I was a guy who. I was dunking in the 7th grade. I consider myself an extremely good athlete. I ran a 22.59, 200 in the 8th grade. Like this dude is a freak of nature. When you watch him get down the line, when you watch his bat and ball skills, his elite ability to be just an extremely tough out. It almost makes me wonder when I watch what the Dodgers have put together. It's like, why even rush him back to the middle? When I look at Soto's deal and what he signed, hey, you're getting a bargain. $300 for what he's on offensively. I don't even think you got to even add the pitching aspect to him. He could just go out there and just continue to hit, and you get your money's worth, on the field and off the field. So he is extremely unique. I love Shohei Ohtani. I coach a group of 17-year-olds now. I have a travel organization, San Diego Padres scout team organization. And, Shohei pisses me off because he's got everybody thinking they're going to be two-way. And I tell these parents, hey, listen, guys, there's only been 2 to do it and have success in the history of the game. Babe Ruth and Shohei. So, I don't mean to bust any bubbles, but, again, he's doing something that we have not seen done. I didn't get to see Babe Ruth play, but I know, no offense to him, he was not the athlete that Shohei Ohtani was. So, what he's been able to do, from a discipline standpoint, I think it's a discipline, right? It's hard enough to just go, do one thing well. There's so many things well, but the biggest thing that I don't think we recognize is his discipline off the field. You have to have a ton of discipline to be able to withstand the type of wear and tear and the things that he's continuing to do mentally and physically. So he's special, and I'm thankful that I'm able to get a chance to watch this guy play the game of baseball.
And on the team he plays on, do you see anybody dethroning the Dodgers, Cameron? I mean, with the off-season acquisitions, they continue to add and spend. Can you see anyone possibly taking down the Dodgers?
I sat here the other day and I was on X and I kept, getting stuff written up and then I deleted it and then because I'm sitting here going back and forth going, as bad as I want to, say the Braves can do it or say the Phillies can do it, when I watched them, and I made a tweet last night, I said the scary thing about the Dodgers, when I watched this, these early games, I know it's early, we played in Japan, played the Tigers, which I really like the Tigers this year. But when you watch them, the scary thing is, fellas, is they don't even have to play their best baseball to win the game. Freddie doesn't have to, be the, last night Teoscar's the guy. Tommy Edmonds the guy. It's like, they have so many ways to beat you. You go get a Michael Conforto, which I think is an extremely sleeper move because I continue to say, I have a stepson. I hope my son gets drafted by the Dodgers. They develop and they get guys right as good as any organization in the game. We talk about analytics. It's only information. Well, they continue to get guys the right information. watch Michael Conforto have a comeback type of year. They do things so right that, they don't need Mookie to go off, Shohei to go off, Will Smith to go off. Anybody can beat you on any given night, and now they're starting to bolster that rotation and that bullpen. So, it's hard for me to think anybody's going to dethrone them. As bad as I would love to, pick somebody and make it some great storyline, it's just hard for me to fathom somebody knocking them off when it's all said and done at the end of the year.
I'm with you on that. I think most people are. He is a long-time MLB player. You can catch him on foul territory as well. Great to catch up with him. There he is, Cameron Maybin. Thank you for doing this, Cameron.
Guys, anytime. Always a pleasure. Love talking baseball with you guys.
You got it. There he is, Cameron Maybin. We love having him on, man. He's an awesome
Beauty.
guest.
Yeah.
And lifer, jumped around baseball, played with so many different people and different, going up against everyone. Like you said with Ohtani, he brings up a great point. Does he even have to pitch? Are you just risking, is that almost being greedy if you're the Dodgers? This guy's going to.
Why not say to him, though, hey, why don't you come in if we, instead of going with how they just have the bullpen start? And it's just just say, hey, once in a while, do you want to just wheel in there?
Right.
Why not?
The thing is, he's got to get his arm prepared for it, right? And that's the question. And I think if you have him as a starter, it's all right, you're taking the bat out, although you still might. I guess you could DH or you could pinch hit at some point. But
Dude,
I'm
Ohtani's one of those athletes, Hayes, where there's few athletes that have the luxury. It's what do you want to do?
Absolutely. It would be his call.
It's not here's our plan for you. They go up to him and say, hey, what are you thinking here? And whatever he thinks, they do.
Do you think at some point in the history of his tenure with now in L.A. that he will pitch and hit in a World Series?
Yes, I would definitely think that's happening.
Noodles, it could be this year.
Yeah,
no, I know that.
But go to the World Series again over the 10 years he's got left or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if he starts a game, but he comes out of the bullpen or something, or does to me that's where I see something crazy where he sets a record where he gets a save and has a home run in a game where in a World Series game, which will never be ever repeated again.
Ever. And that is what is amazing about this guy, is that you can use your imagination to that extent, and it's not that crazy or far-fetched that he could step in the top of the ninth and hit a go-ahead grand slam home run.
Right.
And then go in the bottom of the ninth and save the game to win and close it for the Dodgers. That could absolutely happen. And, it would just be a cherry on top for what he's already accomplished.
Dude, I would give a guy a World Series MVP just if he did that. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Grand slam and then saved the game with his arm. I'd say, sorry, you're MVP.
He did that at the World Baseball Classic. Remember, he closed the game out. He struck out Mike Trout when it was Japan versus USA. I don't remember what he did at the plate that game, but he had pitched earlier in the tournament or event as a starter, but he had enough in the tank where he could come in out of the bullpen, and he did that. I think he might have pitched the 8th and the 9th, certainly the 9th, and that was an incredible moment. But to do it at the World Series, I think is definitely, it's realistic. And
that's what I mean.
The crazy thing is you also, what's maybe more outlandish than anything is that it's just a formality the Dodgers are going to get to the World Series. Because that's got to happen first. Before he can have that moment, his team's got to pull its weight. But it feels almost impossible to picture them not in another World Series. If not this year, certainly in the next 2 or 3 years.
Crazy.
And then he probably will have that opportunity. It's incredible, man, what this guy is and what he does. And like you say, 6'4", 6'5", steals bases, hits bombs, looks like $1 million. I mean, the guy, it's a movie. He's a superhero.
And his interpreter's in the clink.
And his interpreter embezzled money, and he's in the clink. And the guy just
got
keeps
5
going.
years.
Yeah, he got a long time. I don't know. I thought it was 33 months or something like that.
I don't know. It wasn't a slap on the wrist. This guy's doing some time.
Yeah, he's definitely doing some time. And Ohtani has not missed him at all.
Not at all.
That's probably the most unsettling part. Well, maybe not the most.
Well, there was a large percentage of people that were like, it's all over for Ohtani. He was betting on baseball, man, and he was using this guy to do it for him.
Yes.
And this whole thing is blowing up for him and the Dodgers. Even old Pete Rose was like, "Nah, this guy's a fraud, man. You guys, how come you're not all over him?"
Get on Shohei. Get on Shohei.
There might be a 30 for 30 on that, like 20 years after he retires, and they
Dude,
go,
there should be one next week.
I know, but he's still playing. What I'm saying is, once he's done and he goes into the hall and does everything else, people start. You know how things start to unravel.
Noodles, they don't
real
need
story?
Ohtani. I want to hear the interpreter story on how he pulled this off. Like, go into the jail and go through the glass and ask him what the hell he was up to, because I want to hear all of it.
Yeah,
how ballsy
I
he
want
was.
to hear from Ohtani too, though. Like, I kind of want to know exactly what.
Because I think they would have gone through the cell phones and records. Like, to me, there's.
Yeah, I still say it's pretty tough to take somebody's money without, like.
It's fishy.
Yeah,
it's fishy.
It might be a Kaiser Sose at the end. The old
That's what I'm saying.
Away.
20 years after he's gone
Yeah.
and retired and whatever. Then it's like, okay, actually, this is the real story.
Right.
And this is what happened.
What happened here?
Who
What
knows?
happened,
Maybe
Rose
Ohtani
on the
was
Titanic?
doing it, and this guy took the fall. Would you
Well,
take the
that's-
fall?
I don't know, man.
I
don't know. It's all It's all.
Yeah.
That's all hypothetical.
It is.
Allegations. I won't stand for it
Allegations.
because we love Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Love watching him play. Mail It In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP, where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Dear Hayesy-B, next. All right, best bets later in the hour. Dear Hayesy-B coming up here in a moment. One thing we haven't mentioned today is the Capitals and Wild Plan and Marc-Andre Fleury and Alex Ovechkin. And I'm curious your guys' take on this, that, you know, the Caps were naturally leaving the ice and Ovi rushed over and said, we all got to come back and say goodbye to the Flower.
I thought it was cool, man.
You
Yeah,
think
I
that's
did
a cool
too.
moment? Like,
I
I'm
really
just-
do.
Okay, so because I'm curious about this, because it kind of feels like Fleury's doing a Jeter, Kobe,
is.
Rivera, like this is a tour. And I've heard you guys say, I don't know about that in
I
baseball,
know, but this
why
is the
Flower
thing, though.
allowed to
This
do
is
it?
not Flower doing it. This is not Flower. This is just
these are
class by
teams doing
Ovi.
it. Yeah.
Kind of
Okay.
Ovi doing his little farewell. The guys that, like, dude, I'm telling you, man, I hear stories about, like, guys like Jeter that were making the rounds, like, getting gifts from the organizations. Like, every team had to give this guy a gift going
Yeah.
away.
Didn't
That was
Oakland gave
insane.
Cabrera,
Didn't
Miguel
Oakland-
Cabrera.
Didn't
Oakland got him a
Hayes-
bottle of wine.
Bottle of
and
wine?
Hayes was pissed.
Yeah, bottle of
What was
wine.
it? $80 bottle of wine.
Yeah,
That's
it was
what
from
it was.
like the gas station down the
No,
street.
it wasn't, dude. It was a
It
bottle
was.
of Amos.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's good wine, but you're in Napa Valley, dude. You could find a bottle of wine for $1,500 down the street. And
Yeah.
I
that
don't know
was a
why you
blast.
feel like the guy didn't play for your team. Like he could have just
Then
said
don't do
congrats on a
anything.
great career.
No,
yeah,
Then don't do anything.
But I like that. I like, but I agree with like Marc-Andre Fleury isn't. There's not a ceremony before the game with the presents and everything. It's afterwards, guys. Like and they're seeking him out to give him a hug and a handshake. Like it's not him waiting. Hey, you're going to give me my flowers here. Like what? Like that's not the case. He's just been a class guy his whole career, been a competitor, and I think I liked what Ovi did because I think. What he did was show respect to a guy that he has really battled his whole career, like that. Pittsburgh,
he's-
Washington.
That
right?
Ovi's a
Few
mon.
past
Like I love watching Ovi. Like, do you see the videos? The Caps put out videos before the game. He's just so jacked up and chewing his gum and so excited and joking with the guys and dancing. I'm like, this guy
Salads.
loves playing hockey, man.
Yeah, he
The
does.
celebrations when he scores.
Oh, I know.
I know, and he does his salads on sideways. Like it's just like he doesn't care.
He
Like,
just wants a
goes out and
Subway
plays.
sandwich, some spicy hot Cheetos, and he wants to get on the bird and go score a goal somewhere.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
he puts the toque on, the hoodie. Again, if you saw him walking around, you'd be like, this guy, he looks like he's 55 years old, and yet he's the greatest goal scorer ever. That reminds me of the guy, what was his name? I sent the text to the group chat, the guy who went to Turkey and was listening to our podcast while
I
he was
know.
going through the
He was
Turkish
in the
hair
hospital. He
transplant.
was in the waiting room, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I guess where was it, man? I don't know if you can put it up, Joe, or
We
if you
need
can
an
put it up,
update
JP.
on his salad too, how he's doing. Like he should give us like a week by week progression of the salad before
Okay,
and
so
after.
the guy's name was Eric. His name was Eric, and if you can find the pic, he sent it to me a couple of days ago. Anyway, I got to go back and find it. But yeah, I guess the whole process is like once you get the hair thing done, you got to sit there post-op for hours and like not move and let things kind of soak in. There he is. He's got his feet up. I love how they give him
OverDrive on in Turkey.
He's in Turkey, and he said, "I have hours to kill, and I am just listening to your podcast. Like I'm listening to hours and hours of podcast while I get my hair transplanted in Turkey." That is a live shot of Eric in Istanbul getting a salad. Listening.
How
to
did
OverDrive.
people in Istanbul get so like up to task on
I don't know,
replacing
man, but
people's
I love
hair?
it.
I love how they
appreciate
got
that.
they got a
great
stool
shot.
in the background where he's going to get a picture in front of him. Like,
That's right.
Dude, there was an airline that chirped a guy. There was a bald guy that took a selfie, and he's like, I asked for a window seat, and there's no window. So he posts the pic. It was all covered up, and the airline wrote back on, quote tweeted him and said, off to Turkey, are we?
you know what it was? It was Ryanair. It's that airline Ryanair. That's
I
the
couldn't
European
believe
one.
they went there, man. They said, are you off to Turkey, sir?
They have nothing to lose because you can get flights on there for like $30.
Yes.
Right? That's the whole point there is they fly places and they got to get the plane back. So if you get up at 6 a.m. and want to get from Rome to like Glasgow, you can get there for $30.
I bought 4 flights on Ryanair this summer. I'm flying from Sardinia to Naples, and it's
There
like
you go.
it was literally like 18 euros
12
or
bucks,
whatever.
man. 12
but
bucks.
I'm concerned.
But you better not complain, or else you're
Well,
gonna,
I'm not
going
going
to
to complain. I just want the bird to make it. That's my biggest worry, right?
Well, that is valid.
Because there was no airline leaving other than that one. Ryanair, EasyJet was like 4-hour drive away. So I was like, okay, we'll take this Ryanair.
I love it.
And I'm a little concerned.
I
So
love it.
who
Yeah,
knows?
you don't want to get like you get confused over there and you make a wrong turn or you make the like that reminds me of when my wife and I were in Rome and we were going to we were doing a day trip. I don't remember what city it was. Florence, I think it was.
Yeah, up north, Florence.
Yeah,
probably,
we were going to Florence for the day. And there were 2 options for the train. The one was the express. It was going to take an hour. The other one was 4 hours.
Yeah.
Guess which one we got on?
Yeah,
4 hours.
stopping in Pisa and
Oh,
stopping
we were
everywhere.
stopping everywhere. We're like, what did we? And you know why? Because we're like, oh, this one leaves 10 minutes before. Idiots. You know, we're like, oh, let's get on that one. We'll get there 10 minutes before. Actually, you'll get there 3.5 hours later.
Crazy.
Anyway, all right, let's fire up some Dear Hayesy-B. We got it. It's Friday. People are waiting for us. They want help. Let's go, Dear Hayesy-B.
People send in a tweet. They write us for our professional advice on life things. Dear Hazy-B, every morning my boiler has a gas leak. My wife thinks it's the baby.
Dear Hayesy-B.
If you want to come to Hayesy-B, I need honesty from you.
Hazy, you got dumped a lot. Tell him.
Grown adults with birthdays, it's asinine.
All right, Dear Hayesy-B, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. So fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. All right, let's fire off a couple
boys,
here.
we fire up a couple here. This one actually drives me insane. Here we go. I want to hear your thoughts. I texted my buddy yesterday if he wanted to come over to watch the Leaf game. He said, sorry, I can't, but we're moving Saturday if you want to come help with that. I don't mind helping a buddy, but I also think declining my invite and suggesting helping him move as an alternative is such a greasy play.
It's tough.
Would he have even asked if I didn't reach out? Just doesn't sit right, not to mention it's pretty last minute. He sent me a text just now being like, so hey, is 10 a.m. tomorrow good? So it's coming down to the wire here. Do I sack up and be a bro, or do I gas him out of spite for the absolute audacity?
Ooh, I think you're in the right to say, sorry, pal, not happening. Like
Yeah,
this
I'll
is,
get a moving company.
yeah,
man.
exactly.
Sorry.
It's for starters, if you are seeking out help, you have to understand that you can't hold it against someone if they say, no, I'm not helping
Exactly.
you. You know, like if it's a medical emergency, then yes, you would expect help. This is not that. You've known that you're moving for quite some time. And I think what bothers this guy more than anything is he fell into the trap. If he didn't send the text out, this guy's not going to ask him. But the olive branch was sent out. Hey, you want to come over for the game? Actually, I can't. I'm moving, but you want to help me on that front. And that's what really burns him, is that if he just never invited the guy, which now in retrospect he shouldn't have because the guy wasn't coming, then you're not even in this conundrum. But I don't think you have any obligation whatsoever. 24-hour notice on a move, a 10 a.m. move. That's not, hey, can you help me get something into the truck? And then
There's
you can
only
take
one
off.
guy that can ask somebody that. It's their old man. That's the only guy that can say, "Get your ass over here and help me do
That's
something."
right. That's right. You're doing
Anybody
something
else,
like that?
you gotta
Absolutely.
get your head on straight. You do not ask people to help you move stuff, especially on a weekend.
Well, and last minute, if you're saying, hey, 2 months from now or a month and hey, we bought a new place, can you help out? And then that person forgets about it and you're reminding them. But this seems like it's too convenient. Like, hey, unless it's an abrupt end to a relationship, it's like, I've got to get out of here. Can you help out
Right.
type
I'm
of
getting
thing, right?
booted, man. I got
Context
Hey.
is everything.
Oh, hey, if he's piping, like, I'll be over there in 4 minutes to help pack up stuff and say,
Right.
see
That's
you later.
a different scenario.
Dude,
like, this
no,
is DEFCON
you
5,
got to
dude.
show up for that.
Right. You need to
Right.
help me out. I got to get out of here ASAP. We got to go, man.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Dude, I'll have you packed up, and I'm not kidding you, 5 minutes. I'll have
yeah.
all your stuff in a truck.
Oh, the
Gone.
Marines, man. It turns into a whole operation. You've got walkie-talkies, everything.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Because
Get it
guys,
out.
what do
Get
guys
him
have? They
out.
have golf clothes, regular clothes, some work clothes, and their golf clubs and stuff. Get it out of the house.
That would probably be my number one thing. Would be like, make sure I get the clubs and the ones back there, and make sure that I got golf shoes.
There would have to be
all that.
like I think there's a depth chart, right? But that's the thing. You guys would have to weigh out: is it the dress shoes? Is it the dress clothes? Is it the jeans? Is it the golf clubs? Like if you had to choose one, you'd be like, okay, clubs, I can
Great
buy
question,
that.
man.
Because
Here's
I
the
think there's
sort
a depth chart when it comes to your guys' clubs.
There would be.
Here's how I could squeeze it all together. When I was playing in Hartford, Andrew Castles had a 911 convertible Porsche.
Yeah.
And my second year in the league, he came up to me and he's like, thinking about getting rid of the 911. You want it? I go, damn right I want it. So I buy this guy's convertible 911 at 20 years old. And I used to drive it from Raleigh to Toronto, and I'd have my clubs and my clothes and all my stuff in the trunk was in the front of the 911.
Right.
And I used to slam the trunk and drive that 911 right to Toronto, and that's all I needed. That's
Perfect.
all you need.
That's all you need.
Wow.
Clubs, a couple of
Yeah.
shorts, some
That's
shirts,
it. Bar
some pants,
tees, some jeans, some
Absolutely.
shoes, and you're good to go.
shoes, some balls,
There you go.
maybe if you got golf balls hanging around, and you're out of there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Dear Hayesy-B, Ottawa resident here. Me and some of the boys are taking a trip down to Toronto in April to see Metallica. These boys, being my boss and some coworkers, we've done some casual dinners and stuff, but nothing wild. How on the straight and narrow should the behavior be on this trip? Or do I just floor it and hope the boys plan to follow suit? Need some help, lads.
Ooh, yeah, this one's tough, man, because sometimes you got to know like the circumstance behind, the business relationship. In other words, is the boss also like the owner? Is this a small shop, or is this corporate? If it's corporate, you floor it, man. You have a great time, and it's like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If there are some concerns that whatever type of tone setting you're putting on at Metallica in Toronto is going to carry back over to the office, then you got to take that into consideration. But ultimately, you got to just know the kind of guys you're with, man. And I got to
Yeah.
think if it's a Metallica crew, Noodles,
Yeah.
like these guys like to
Yeah.
have a good time. Like you're not going
Of
to see
course.
James Taylor at Massey Hall.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to have a
Adele.
pretty big night.
It's Metallica. What you're more concerned is you're going to be fine. It's like, what is your boss going to be like? Because all you've seen him is in a suit or whatever.
Right.
What's this guy going to be at a Metallica concert? Like, is he
Dude,
going
Dude,
to
I
be?
think I think you order some shots before you head to the concert, and you say, "Fellas, this is the circle of trust.
Yeah.
If you're going to wind it up, and I'll wind it up too, nothing is said about it. There's no emails exchanged about it. It's the circle of trust, and let's go get after it." And you put a headband on and rip the sleeves off your shirt, and you go to Metallica.
I love it. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Done. That's your plan. It's over.
Yeah.
We've already established what you have to do here.
Metallica's
We got to
great.
get to
It's-
this one quick
I love it.
because
There
it
you go.
applies to hockey and referees, and it sounds like there's some things going on.
Okay.
Dear Hayesy-B, I recently organized a hockey event next weekend, and I hired some refs I found online.
Ooh.
Head ref has emailed and called multiple times asking, when will the bar be open, in quotations, at the rink, and question, will there be any parties after? I'm having my doubts about him. Do I look for every place?
I've never heard of rent-a-ref. I've never heard of a rent-a-ref. I've heard of rent-a-goalie. I mean,
Yeah,
you got to have a
rent-a-goalie.
goalie to have a game, but
Dude,
I
I
would
bet you there's
say-
got to be rent-a-refs, man. And I can't imagine
Is there?
what wheels into that rink.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, who,
Doogie, look quickly to see if there's rent-a-ref.
right?
And
Like
how much
rent-a-ref.
I
are
heard
they?
rent-a-goalie.
Exactly. Rent-a-goalie.
Dude, I
is
bet you
important.
rent-a-goalies in Toronto make a lot of money.
Big industry, man, because you have to have them. You have to have a goalie to play. You can't.
Yeah.
There's no point in playing a game without a goalie. You're not doing the sixth skater thing. It's stupid. Some of these guys make $150 in a game. Like everyone's got to chip in $25 to get a goalie or whatever. But rent a ref, and if this guy, it just sounds like he's going to be a disaster. I
bag.
would prefer just to play street rules, man. You know, like keep each other honest, no offsides. If anyone gets stupid, you're going to the box. But if you got a ref who is calling you off the hook, that is a horrible first impression. And he's not asking about like how serious you want him to call the game. That I could understand. If
Yeah.
he called and said, "Listen, I can call it by the book. If you were just out here having fun, what do you want?" This guy was wondering if the boys are going to party afterwards. I don't need that kind of referee
Yeah,
involved.
he's a booze bag.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
you
just,
want that.
Like, what's this guy? He's not going to be reliable. He probably won't even show up.
or
you
he'd
know.
be
Dude, if he
half in
does
the
show
bag.
up. This guy, I think you go with him, but you have to ask yourself, are you prepared for what he could possibly bring?
Right.
Because this guy could be absolutely creamed on the ice and have you're going to have all kinds of problems.
Yes. And people are not in the mood for that. You know how it is.
You know what you do when he steps on property? You show him something. You say, you know what this is? Breathalyzer. Let's go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dude, you give that ref a breathalyzer before the game starts and say, you don't pass, you don't ref.
It's a beer league game. The actual word beer is involved. I think
For the
everyone's
players, Noodles. For the
I know,
players, not the refs. The refs are supposed
I
to
know,
be,
but you're giving
know.
him a breathalyzer. What the game's going to be 12-10, and there'll be guys who can't turn left out there. And
Well, that's
but
valid.
Relax. Like that's it,
All
the
right.
guy.
Let him have a great time then.
Quick
I
one
just-
here, fellas.
Let him have a great time.
What's your
That's
final
fair.
thought on the ref, Noodles? Just leave him alone?
Not leave him alone. You might want to find another ref that doesn't want to hit the bar before and after. Be
Doogie,
like,
is there rent-a-refs, Doogie?
Not specifically rent-a-ref, but I guess there's websites where you can, but there's no specific rent-a-ref website.
Okay. So this guy's coming up with his own pricing.
It's like
and,
Kijiji, where you can
Yeah.
find some.
you know he's going to want an Uber home because he can't
Dude, I'm not
drive.
finding any living body on Kijiji to do anything.
Me
I'll buy a
neither.
pair of tennis shoes, and that's it.
Me neither.
Dear Hayesy-B, my bachelor party is next week in Arizona, and my buddy's wife is getting overly involved in trimming budget. She went so far as to say, whatever's spent, I will be going on a shopping spree for the same amount when my buddy is the sole provider. Do I tell her to back off?
No, you have no right to do that. There's nothing
None.
you can do.
None.
Yeah. I
None.
mean, what are you going to do? Like you can't step in. But what you can say is to your buddy, if you don't want to be involved, you don't have to be involved. But we are
Right.
not going to tailor. We're not changing anything on our end.
No.
But you might have to. Unfortunately, you might have to. But you can't step into that kind of scenario. That's
Dude,
that's
you
not
just
your
mind
wheelhouse,
your
man.
own business.
You mind your own business.
and
Yeah,
you tell him whatever she wants. If
Yeah,
she wants
or
to
call
go
her
shopping,
bluff. Maybe
yeah.
you call it. Maybe there's a bluff, right? Maybe
Yeah.
she's pretending to be showing aces. She got 7-2 in there, right? Could be
Exactly.
7-2 offsuit, and this guy
Yeah.
just has the time of his life, and everything's all good. I would say go live your life. You worry about you and the other guys. Let him worry about his own scenario.
Agreed.
That's the way you play it.
Yeah.
All right, best bets coming up. Big weekend for the Raptors, the Jays, the Leafs. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I have a Toronto parlay tonight. Raptors win, Blue Jays win, paying plus 157. Jays win, Raptors win. Raps have Charlotte. I think they roll on the Hornets. They're in town tonight. Jays, of course, looking to bounce back after an ugly one. Gosman up against his former team. I think he pitches well tonight. They need to come alive. Bat's got to come alive tonight. Jays and Raptors parlay paying plus 157. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every MLB and NBA game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, there you go. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today, everyone for tuning in. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate it. It's been a fun week. Hopefully a great weekend. Stay safe out there. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at...
Give that Wrath a breathalyzer. Sober him up before the game starts. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.